السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. طلابنا الأعزاء، مرحبا بكم. نرحب بكم في هذا اللقاء التعليمي المتجدد. في هذا اللقاء إن شاء الله سنتحدث عن الوحدة الرابعة من كتاب الهيدواي. So today we are going to talk about the grammar section of Unit 4 from the Headway book. The topic of today is going to be on modal verbs. So the modal and related verbs. I'm going to talk in general actually about the modal verbs. Then after I'm going to go in details. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is modal and related verbs. Modal and related verbs. Modal and related verbs. Okay, so there are a group of verbs which are called modal verbs. These are called modal verbs. These modal verbs actually come before other verbs in sentences. This is number one. Number two, these modal verbs add meanings. These modal verbs add meanings. So in general, they can be used before main verbs, or not main verbs, we can say before other verbs in the sentences. At the same time, they add different meanings like certainty, like permission, like possibility, and the stuff. So I'd like to write the first rule on the sentence, which is modal verbs. They can be used before other verbs in the sentence. Okay, they add different meanings. They add different meanings, such as what? Such as certainty, permission, ability, and the like, etc. So this is the first idea. Actually, there are different rules, yes, for using modal verbs. Number one, for modal verbs, we cannot use, they are not used with S. With the third person singular, like he, she, it, we don't use S with them. Like we have more examples actually. We can say, she can ski. This is a sentence. 2, he may come. Number 3, it might rain. So if we have a look here, we can say that we do not use S with the third person singular. This is number 1. Number 2, the second rule, which we use concerning or with modal verbs, is that we do not use we. This is number 1. Number 2, we don't use like don't, doesn't, do, does, okay, in the negative and in the question. So we cannot say, for example, I don't can. No, we can say I can't. So we don't use don't, doesn't, do, does. I can't swim. 1. 2, she won't come tonight. Okay? So if we have a look here, we can notice that won't, this is the short form of will not. This is won't come, won't come. So the negative is just, in the negative, we just add not after the modal verb. We just add not. We cannot use don't, doesn't. And with the question 3, in the question, we, for example, can say, can he drive a car? We cannot say do, does, or this stuff. Okay, so this is the second rule. The third rule is that we, in most cases, we do not use to after these, modal verbs. We don't use to. 3, we don't use to after these verbs. But we have an exception actually here. The exception is ought to, have to, because have to, ought to here is part of the verb, is part of the verb. And that's why we say we do not use to after these verbs. For example, you must leave early. You must leave early. I cannot say you must to. You must to, you can to. No, this is wrong. This is wrong. Okay? You have to or ought to. You ought to. To here is a part, is part of the verb. To is part of the verb. To is part of the verb. And that's why we do not use to, in most of these verbs, with most of these verbs. Rule number 4, they do not usually have past forms. They don't usually have past forms. Most of these verbs don't. These verbs don't have past forms. Okay? And that's why sometimes we use the perfect infinitive. We use the perfect infinitive. We use the perfect infinitive if we would like to use the past form with these verbs. Like, you should have told me. You should have told me about what happened to you. About what happened to you. So should have plus past participle. This is the infinitive. This is the perfect infinitive. This is used to talk about the past with these verbs, modal verbs. Okay, so these are important rules actually concerning modal and related verbs. Let's go in details actually. This is a general idea actually, a general idea about modal verbs. Now, if we would like to talk in details concerning these verbs, first of all, I'm going to talk about have to. Have to. Okay, so have to. What about the form? What about the form of have to? What about the form of have to? Have to, have, has, to, plus infinitive. Plus infinitive. Okay, so have to, has to, plus infinitive. This is the form. In the past, we use had to. We use had to. So this is an exception also. This is an exception to the rule. This is an exception to the rule. Have to, the past is had to. The past is had to. Have, has to, plus infinitive. Had to is the past form of have to. We have more examples actually concerning this. We can say she has to get up early. She has to get up early. They have to work hard. Okay? So if we notice here, this is the subject, she, the verb has to, this is the modal verb. What comes after have to or has to is the infinitive without, s, without ing, because, these verbs or the verbs that follow modal verbs cannot be used in the ing form, cannot be used with s and this stuff. And that's why they have to work hard. They have to work hard. This is infinitive, bare infinitive. We say it is bare infinitive. This is the bare infinitive, bare infinitive. So she has to get up early. They have to work hard. I have to, for example, I have to do my homework early and the stuff. Okay? Next point is the use. Let's have a look on the use actually. The use. We use have to talk about a general obligation. We use have to talk about a general obligation. So we use have to express a general obligation, a general obligation. So let's have an example. We have to work hard if we want to succeed. We have to work hard if we want to succeed. Okay, we have to work hard if we want to succeed. So this is an obligation. This is a general obligation. This is a general obligation. By the way, this obligation is based on, an authority of another person. It is based on an authority of another person. Sometimes it is said that it is based on an external rule, on a law or something like that. So we have to work hard if we want to succeed. Okay. Have to has all verb forms. Have to, yes. This is number one. We have more examples actually. We have more examples. Okay. So the other idea is that have to has all verb forms. Have to has all other verb forms. That's to say we can use have to in the present, we use it in the future, we use it in the past, so we use it in the continuous form, so it can be used in different tenses. It can be used in different tenses. Let's have an example. I had to work hard. I had to go home on foot yesterday. I had to go home. I had to. This is the subject. Had to is the modal verb. Go. So this is in the past form. This is past. This is past. This is past. I had to go home. I had to go home on foot yesterday. Future. You will have to study hard for your, or if you would like to succeed. If you would like to succeed. You will have to study hard if you want to pass your English exam. You will have to succeed. You will have to study hard. You will have to do something. So this is in the future. This is in the future. Okay? This is in the future. Okay? So this is in the past. The second example expresses a future idea, and I can use I hate, for example, I hate having to get up early for work. So it can be used in the ing form. So this is an ing form, and that's idea. The whole example, all these examples is an illustration of this rule. The whole examples are an illustration of this rule. Have to has all other verb forms. Has all other verb forms. Okay? So this is done for have to. What about the negative? What about the question? For example, so let's talk about the negative form of have to. Have to. The negative is don't have to. Don't have to. Okay, is don't have to, and this is it expresses the absence of obligation. Don't have to expresses the absence of obligation. We don't have obligation. I'm more concerned here actually with the form, and I'm going to talk about the meaning later on when we talk about have to and must and don't have to and mustn't. Okay, so have to, the negative is don't have to. So we don't have to get up early on Fridays. It is not necessary. It is not necessary. It is not necessary. We are not obliged. There is no obligation. So it expresses the absence of obligation. So have to, don't have to. And if this is for the negative form, negative. For the question, for the question, it is do. Do you have to go? Do you have to? For example, wear a mask when you go into the factory. Okay, so the question is, do you have to wear a mask when you go into the factory? Do you have to? So this is the question, and I think it's clear cut. It's a clear cut. Okay, so the other idea now, let's talk about have got to. Have got to. What's the difference between have to and have got to? Have to and have got to. So this is have to, and we have got to. Have got to actually is informal. It is less informal. It is informal, and that's why it is used more in a spoken context. It is used in informal language. It is used in informal language or informal context. So have to, have got to. It is even used in a spoken language. It is more spoken in. It is more used in a spoken language. In the spoken language. So let's talk about have got to. The idea is that we can use them, interchangeably. Sometimes we can use them interchangeably. So have to and have got to. In the question, it's cut clear for have to. But for have got to, we cannot say do, does, doesn't, or this stuff. We just use have. And that's why we say she has got to leave early. She has got to leave early. As for the question, we use has at the beginning. We put it at the beginning, and that's why it is has she got to leave early? Has he or she got to leave early? This is the question. Yes, she has, or no. For this one, do you have to wear a mask? Yes, I do. No, I don't. I say yes, I do, or no, I don't. This is the answer, because here we ask with do. Do you have to wear a mask? Yes, I do. No, I don't. Here, has she, for example, has she got to leave early? Yes, she has, or no, she hasn't. No, she hasn't. Yes, and that's why the negative and the question forms are different from, in the case of have to and have got to. So in general, we can say that have got to is more common in British English. It is even more common in a spoken language, and that's why you can use it, informally. You can use it informally. Okay? Okay. This is for have got to. Let's go to have to and must. Have to and must. Have to and must. Actually, sometimes we can use have to and must interchangeably. We can say, for example, we can say, I must be home by midnight. I must be home by midnight. Or I have to. I have to be home by midnight. So if we notice here, if we have a look, we can notice that must, have to can be used, interchangeably. They express obligation. They express obligation. But is there going to be any difference? Is there any difference between the two in terms of the meaning? Yes, there is a difference actually. There is a difference in meaning concerning obligation. Concerning obligation. Okay? Must must can be used to express an obligation, yes, but at the same time it expresses the obligation from the point of view of the speaker. It talks about the wishes, it talks about the feelings of the speaker. Okay? However, this is must. However, have to talks about an obligation which is based on a law, which is based on a rule, which is based on an authority of another person. An authority of another person. Okay? This is important. This is the difference actually. If we would like to talk about examples or to take examples, actually, they are cut clear actually. We have two examples. Okay, so in short, we can say that have to and must can be used interchangeably, but at the same time there is some sort of, a difference in meaning, and this is what I'm going to talk about in the next class. Thank you very much.